First Contact Log. Date: Third Era. First Age: Year 3258 Cycle 178. Reporting Officers: Ship Captain Juhanti Ol Hoof of the Imperium Exploration Starship, the White-Tailed Star. Ambassador Kraken Eld Mons of the Imperial Diplomatic Corps. Location: Outer edges of the galaxy. An isolated star system near dead space, known as E-177-39 Kyber. Yellow main sequence star. 3 planetary bodies. 1 continental plains world. 1 Type 3 crystalline world. 1 Class A gas giant. Log begins. Captain's Log. We found a hyperlink waveform between star system E-399 Kyber while scouting resource deposits and decided to investigate. After coming out of hyperjump, our sensors were afflicted by an as yet unidentified ghost signal that seemed to obfuscate some of our sensory arrays and scramble targeting systems. The signal dissipated quickly and we became fully aware of a small-scale Dyson mirror swarm orbiting the system's star. The swarm was still active, though it did not react to our presence. Basic scans immediately revealed the presence of sapient or at least sentient life on one of the planet's surfaces. A large warship, a very large warship, was landed on the second planet within the star's habitable zone. Attempts at scans of any kind of this warship were useless due to an as yet undetermined form of electronic interference. Engineers began an attempt to filter this signal. We began standard protocol and started a system sweep. Gas giant, Class A. A massive gas giant with unnatural proportions, containing sufficient mass but insufficient components to start fusion reactions. Reclassified as a failed star. Primarily composed of hydrogen, helium, xenon and chlorine gases, with an iron and nickel core. Due to presence of various exotic gases, planet's cloud layers appear green in color. Type 3 crystalline planet abnormal. Cause of formation unknown. A combination of a magmatic world of massive volcanic activity. Tectonic shifts and volcanic eruptions cause abnormal forms of massive skyscraper-sized crystalline formations of nearly limitless color spectrum to appear on planet's surface. We have identified no fewer than 7 new colors to add to the spectrum due to the presence of this planet. Detected advanced mining drones and mining equipment on the planet's surface. Yellow main sequence star. No abnormalities to report, save the Dyson swarm orbiting the planet's surface. Dyson mirror swarm appears to be complete, as new mirrors are being added only when older ones fail. Swarm appears to be that of a Class 4 civilization. It is basic but harvesting gigajoules of energy and exporting that energy to the continental planet. Tech appears to be generations ahead of the Imperium but still only a Class 4, so it seems the creators are still only just beginning their ascension. Continental planet appears to be a standard S3 habitable world, consisting of rolling hills and flat plains. Nitrogen/oxygen atmosphere with traces of carbon gases and pollutants. Primary factor of notability is a starship of alien make, 5 kilometers in length, 1 kilometer at its widest point, and carries more weaponry than an entire Imperium Type 2 standard battle fleet. Visual examination detects massive machine presence. Conclusion: an as yet unidentified civilization, outclassing the Imperium, has claimed the star system for use in mining. Captain's Log concludes. Diplomatic Log commences. Ambassador's Log. I cannot explain the star system. We used a telescope to observe the planet in front of us. A telescope, one of the oldest means of observation, and we actually had to take the thing out of storage and dust it off to see what was going on. Electronic signatures distorted our sensors so heavily we couldn't conduct scans until our engineers cleared up the airwaves. Machines. Millions of machines. But they were behaving strangely. Very strangely. We have only 2 examples of sapient mechanical races. The rogue servitors of the fallen Dothraki Empire known as the Hallowed, and the broken remnants of the exiled fleets as references, but even they were nothing compared to this. These machines were behaving so organically. Under normal circumstances, machines would communicate by radio, waveform, or wiring. Numerous observations made us rethink several theories from radio to even a potential psionic communication. They were displaying behaviors of organic lifeforms. Tribalistic or at least a communal behavior pattern, like slightly more evolved animals. We identified not 1, 7, or even 20 different machines, but thousands of different configurations, and each one could be differentiated from the other through subtle or minuscule details. Some machines, codenamed Tonks, were large, vehicle-sized bipedal walkers with large heads that hung lazily between two massive legs. These Tonks came in 4 distinct color patterns and qualities: yellow, red, black, and blue, each with a serial number and ID card painted on it. We spotted them moving around in herds, if it can be called that. They would trundle about on the surface, weaving through trees or avoiding forests despite their capacity to completely destroy these forests through sheer size. These machines would occasionally stop at specific intervals to talk to each other. They would exaggerate movements, stomp their feet, or sway their bodies in a strange manner. This behavior was observed enough times to be considered more than just a coincidence. It was deliberate action. They seemed to have no real purpose, but basic observations noted each one was very, very heavily armed, with mounted rocket pods and Gauss cannons. Each one of these Tonks appeared to be of a standardized design, but each one had a distinctive difference. Larger legs, tanks of liquid mounted on the back, strange pods carrying cargo, small manipulation arms, or strange patterns of paint. Other details include childish drawings on armor plating, sensory arrays in strange places, or loose wiring that was fashioned like hair or accessories. Smaller machines, at least in stature, codenamed harvesters, also dotted the surface. These ones seemed to be less diverse, only appearing in 5 different color schemes but all appearing of the same form of basic mechanical design. Each one seemed to be harvesting resources using a mounted drill arm. What made these machines unique was that other machines used them as a sort of office water cooler. Other machines would come gather around it and talk to each other, often taking the opportunity to use various appendages on their bodies to extract resources from the harvester's collection container. The further we headed up the food chain, the larger and more complex the machines became, ultimately leading to the discovery of large, skyscraper-sized machines sitting dormant in various places, or some machines the size of apartment complexes engaging in what could only be described as gardening. One such machine took our interest in particular. We identified it by the name Kilroy, as seen by the serial plate it had on its left side. It was a strange hexapoidal beast the size of a large apartment complex. Each one of its 6 legs was large, rounded and jointed like that of an arthropod, and each had a turret of varying design mounted on a knee joint. Each leg was connected to a rounded ovoid body, mounted on top of which was a large bulbous head. We could very clearly see that this head was in fact the storage mechanism for a rather large cannon. This machine spent almost all of the time we were observing it, patrolling the edges of a patch of flowers in a forest clearing, tending to the flowers. I will repeat what I just said. A machine the size of a building, armed with enough firepower to blow half an armada out of the sky, was busy watering a flower garden. This was but a very select few of the oddities we observed. During our observations, another machine that appeared to be a tracked variant of the harvesters, only much larger, engaged in a fight with another harvester over a large boulder. The two launched rockets at each other and exchanged blows with their massive mechanical feet, only to be stopped mid-fight by a larger machine. We can only summarize this event as 2 siblings fighting over their favorite toy, then getting scolded by mommy for fighting. Other machines had wheeled propulsion, while others, usually the much larger and heavier variants, had tracks. We observed a large number of flying craft as well, some with simple jet engine or rocket propulsion, while others had rotary blades or propellers. Each one seemed to have its own personality, for lack of a better word, and each seemed to function independently from its fellows. We could, however, clearly see the machines were engaged in some kind of massive-scale terraforming and ecological recovery operation. We spotted another machine, observing from the top of the starship that was landed on the planet. Unusually, it was the only one of its kind on the planet's surface. It was small, bipedal, bulky. It was significantly more personalized than any other machine and carried what we believed to be a portable welding or metalworking device of some kind. Our observations, however, were cut short by the arrival of a band of Ushukani pirates, specifically the Redmakers faction. Captain's log, entry 2. Ambassador was engaged in observations when we detected a clear signal from an extrasolar source. Pirates. Signal of 17 individual warships of frigate, corvette, cruiser and 1 battlecruiser class. All registered to illegal organization designated Redmakers. Engaged full shields and began evasive maneuvers. Pirate fleet jumped into system and cut off exit point, then proceeded to attempt to disable ship. Return fire succeeded in disabling 1 corvette-class ship, but evasive maneuvers failed. Last-ditch effort redirected all power to shields and engines. Battlecruiser, presumed pirate flagship, suddenly explodes. No warning given. Pirate leader is killed in detonation. Ship reactor explodes, causing 2 ships to likewise detonate. Fearing retaliation, I order full retreat to habitable planet and deployment of emergency beacon. On attempting to retreat, we discover the reason behind sudden ship losses. Habitable planet is firing defensive strikes against pirate fleet. Precision strikes that should not be possible by even the best targeting systems in the galaxy. Within 2 minutes, pirate fleet is gutted. Remaining ship attempts retreat. Is vaporized by what we can surmise is a railgun slug. Own ship begins emergency procedures. Stray shell has hit portside engine pod. We are losing power. I fall back and begin emergency landing procedures on planet's surface as close as possible to large warship as observed previously. Thought process behind this is that large warship likely has heavy cannon for ship-to-ship combat, likely won't be able to depress cannons low enough to hit us, so we are safe in the giant's shadow. Atmospheric entry presents no problems. Portside engine fails upon landing. Captain's log 2 ends. Ambassador's log entry 2. Planetfall. With the emergency situation now resolved, we now had a different emergency on our hands. How to deal with the local populace. Within minutes of us getting the portside engine fire under control, we had been swarmed by hundreds of machines, each of a different make or class. For the first time, I could get a closer look at the machines around us. More and more strange details. Some machines had trinkets of strange origin hanging from them. Fuzzy toys or items made to look like strange animals, tied to various parts or components like antennae or strapped to loose wiring. Some machines had flowers or were covered in various foliage items. Some machines had even painted their exteriors to look like trees. This was abnormal. Almost immediately we started to hear noise, strange noise, sequential beeping, stomping of mechanical feet, random roars and a rhythm. It took us a few minutes to figure out that we were in fact listening to music. The machines were singing. It was beautiful. We had never heard anything like it. A perfect symphony of artificial noise made by stringed or wind instruments not unlike those we had back home, mixed in with the strange mechanical noises of machine languages. The sound of a stringed instrument coming from a machine synthesizer, mixed with the occasional bass drum like noise of a stomping mechanical foot. Clicking sounds and electronic vibrating sounding perfectly in tune to the soft, wistful musings of wind instruments like flutes. It was hauntingly beautiful. Then it suddenly stopped. I figured out why. One of my ensigns, Arizette, had escaped the confines of the ship and was now standing outside holding her Trinity flute. The machines simply looked at her. She smiled up at them. Then she began to play. It was an old tune called "To Be at Peace," made by an old war veteran from centuries past. It was a song that started out slow and mournful, the music reminding us of past failures and brothers gone. Then it went up-tempo and filled those listening to it with a sense of pride and accomplishment, of duty and honor. Then the tempo changed again, creating a feeling of happiness and elation. Finally, the song ended with a slow, soft hum denoting the concept of peace and serenity. The machines joined her recital, adding their own music to the mix, following perfectly with the song. Electronic sounds and mix thumping perfectly in tune, creating one of the most incredible sounds I have ever or would ever hear. I looked over at the captain. He was bent over in his chair, sobbing like a child with a smile on his face. It took little over 4 minutes for the song to end. The entire crew stood from their seats and applauded. A few minutes after we had first contact, the strange, seemingly unique bipedal machine we had spotted earlier had appeared and approached the ensign. "Oh, well, hello there. Hello? You can speak our language? Already?" She responded weakly, clearly out of her element. Not exactly difficult when you have quantum processing power and near-infinite hacking abilities. Thanks for a copy of your ship archive, by the way. I'll give you one of mine later. But first, I do believe you need some assistance. He gestured to our damaged thruster pod. Oh, yes please. See, can I ask something? She meekly said. She wasn't keeping her composure much. Couldn't say I blamed her. Sure. He held aloft his welding device and started arcing bolts of purple electricity at the ship's damaged port. Within seconds, the damage was repaired and the thruster belched back to life. Wow! What are the machines? What is this place? What or who are you? He let out a noise that sounded like a laugh. I am human. My name is Vulpes. This is a place known as 70. In this place, machines are taught how to emulate organic emotions and behaviors by using music, sound, or direct communication. To put it simply, this is where AI is taught how to listen to its soul. Captain's Log, Entry 3. For the record, I was not crying. With repairs completed and first contact protocols established, sentient lifeform designation human permitted hangar access to his flagship. For record's sake, flagship is 5 kilometers long and can single-handedly take on an entire Imperium fleet, excluding support from its machines and orbital cannon units, multiphasic ion cannon batteries, quantum distortion cannon arrays, an abnormal and as yet undeterminable alloy armor plating known as vexillite that would appear impervious to any form of energy-based weaponry. This species is also significantly more advanced than earlier projections denoted, as with access to their historical archive as part of cultural exchange, the species designated human is exogalactic in nature, coming from a Type 8 spiral galaxy known as the Milky Way. Further conversations with the human state that, and I quote, my ship? Nah, she's barely a battlecruiser by my standards. Federation or Imperium ships can go upwards of 17 kilometers. Sometimes we get lazy and just strap a beam cannon and rocket engines to a planet and use that. We are apparently the 7th sentient life forms to have encountered humanity. According to reports from their historical archive, they won a war of extermination with a devouring hive mind race and pacified a rogue machine corps, to name a few of their most notable encounters. Apparently, these machines on this planet are descendants of that rogue machine corps. Human named Vulpes explains that the planetary body he is using is to conduct terraforming experiments and assistance in the teaching of new AI units. This star system was to be designated as a nursery of sorts to develop artificial intelligence linguistics and learning algorithms. At this point, there is too much information to process in one report. Vulpes was asked if he would come back to the capital with us to conduct proper introductions. He agreed. After leaving planet's surface, 2 ships warped into the system. Well, I say ships when I do in fact mean Attack Planet and Flying City, that dwarfed Vulpes warship. End of log for the moment. Conclusion. I need my heart pills.